Please welcome Jewish California's lobbyist extraordinaire, Cliff Berg.
Hey, thank you. Testing. Everybody hear me okay? I am told the table 23 group is over there. Follow that woman that way. Hey, everybody. So can I have your attention, please, so we can get started here? Everybody take a seat, and if we can stop conversations. Thank you. So the challenge of doing Lobbying 101 for all of you, in addition to only having 10 minutes, is I really can't see the slides up there. So I will do my best to follow them. So next slide, please. Love seeing my face, but next slide. Thank you. California Legislature. So the purpose today, Lobbying 101, I think all of you heard yesterday, if you were here, how important what you're doing is today. I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank our first-timers for coming, and just want to emphasize how important it is that these members of the legislature meet you, and you meet with them, and for many, many of them, first opportunity perhaps to really meet the Jewish community. And you're really doing an important job today. So the California Legislature, overview, lay of the land. California's legislature is established in the state constitution. It is made up of 120 legislators. It was 120 legislators in the 1840s. It's still 120 legislators today. We have an 80-member state assembly. Members of the assembly are elected for 2-year terms. They run for election every 2 years. 40-member state senate, they have what we call staggered 4-year terms. So only half of the state senate is up in any election cycle. So those 120 legislators are responsible for dealing with something like 1,800 bills this year, not to mention the state budget. Legislature in California is a full-time legislature, probably the busiest in the country. It's in session January through August into September. They are used to meeting with organizations and lobby days every day of the year. Different buses come to Sacramento in different groups. So they are perfectly comfortable with meeting with you, and what you're doing today is perfectly normal. That state legislature of 80-member assembly and 40-member state senate is a highly democratic, super blue majority in California today. So 80-member assembly, 60 Democrats, 20 Republicans. State Senate, 30 Democrats, 10 Republicans. 1/3 of the California legislature was elected in the 2024 election and sworn in 25. Another third was elected in 22. So that means roughly like 66% of the California legislature has been there 3 years or less. Next slide, please. This is what we call the life cycle of legislation slide, which I love because it gives you a picture of how bills move through the legislature. They start, and it's like a pipe, and they go through the legislative process and wind their way through. First thing you need to get a bill introduced in California is what? It's an author. You need an author to get a bill introduced. And then you have to introduce the bill and get it put across the desk, and it gets a number, and then it goes to the Rules Committee for referral to Policy Committee. And after it goes to Policy Committee, if it gets out, it goes to the Fiscal Committee. You are here at the perfect time in the process to see that process at work. All the bills that were introduced in California had to be introduced by the end of February of this year, and they then went to Policy Committee, and a week and a half ago was the deadline for all bills to get out of Policy Committee, and they either went to the floor, but most of them went to the Fiscal Committee, which is called the Appropriations Committee, and that's where they are now. And on Thursday, they'll do something called the suspense file, and they'll determine which bills move along. The bills you're going to be lobbying today are all sitting in those appropriations committees in both houses, so you were there at the perfect time to influence the outcome of those bills. At the end of the day, the bill then has to go through the Appropriations Committee, the floor. It goes to the next house, and it repeats that process, and that process will take place through the summer. And then ultimately, if it gets all the way through, it goes to the governor, and the governor has the option in California of signing a law, vetoing a bill, or letting a bill become law without his signature. Our approach as lobbyists today Our goal in these lobbying meetings, next slide please, is to build relationships. As a lobbyist, that's the most important thing, and that's the most important thing for Jewish California. I always say lobbying is not about arguing, it's not about winning or losing, it's about building a relationship so we can go back and back again and again. Key part of your meeting today, focus on personal stories of your group members, personal stories that are connected to the issues we're lobbying on are really important, but we really want them to get to know you. I think you all heard yesterday many members of this legislature don't represent West LA or the San Fernando Valley or a Jewish area. We need to build relationships with all those legislators from all over California, and out of that 120, I think we're seeing approximately about 115, 12 today. So it's a great opportunity for the Jewish community to build those relationships. Focus on your personal stories, and then you'll get to the specific bills. You're going to have materials, written materials that you can leave behind. Again, next slide, please. Emphasize who you are, why you care. I know many of you care because you have families and children and concerned about some of the things that are happening in your communities. Want you to talk about why you care, why you're here, why you came to Sacramento. Unlike most groups that come to Sacramento, whether they be the bankers or the realtors, they come here because they have a fiscal issue, a bill that affects their pocketbook. The thing about Jewish California is we are here to make the world better, to deal with the Jewish community's concerns, not pocketbook issues, but how we can help people. Your next slide, please. Lobbying meetings, sort of your diagram of how you walk through a lobbying meeting. Start by introducing Jewish California, a statewide unified communal voice, a coalition of 43 member organizations, nation's largest statewide Jewish coalition. Do your introductions, introduce yourselves, who you are, where you're from, a little bit about your family, your community, why you care. Into the bills, the substantive part. You have leave behind folders. You don't need to be an expert. Nobody expects you to be an expert. And the thing about lobbying that I always say is your credibility is the most important thing as a lobbyist. So if you get a question that you don't know the answer to, don't make it up. Tell them, I'll have David Baccarsley or Cliff Berg get back to you, and you're going to make notes about your meeting. And if you get questions that we need to follow up on, let us know, please. Engage the legislator. Do they have a position? I told you all these bills probably have moved through policy committee or an appropriations committee, but that means most of the legislators you're going to meet with, unless they were on the policy committee, have never heard the bills and may not have ever been lobbied on the bills because you're going to be the first one, perhaps, that's going to talk to them about it. So don't be surprised if they don't know about the bill or the budget item. Close out the meeting, remind them Jewish California is a resource, collect business cards from staff, take a picture with the member or the staff. Some lobbying tips. Next slide, please. Lobbying tips, the do's and the don'ts. Do treat a legislator and staff members the same. Staff can be usually influential. Personal editorial, I'm a former staffer. David is a former staffer. We both work for legislators. Staff in that building today can be there 20 years. The legislator may be there 2 years. So you may have a meeting with a legislator on your calendar. Busy time of year. May revise is coming out this week. Suspense file is up this week. Members get called to caucus. They get called to meetings. If you wind up with a staffer that you didn't think you were going to have a member, please treat that staffer as important as the member. And I will tell you this, some of the most important staffers in the building are both the receptionist and the scheduler. So really important in terms of building relationships in that building for Jewish California and the Jewish community is to treat every staffer with respect and with the goal of building a positive relationship with that staffer. Provide your personal stories connected to the issues, be brief and to the point, read the person's body language. Most meetings are like 15 to 20 minutes over there, so be prepared to be concise. Please provide us feedback. Do not get angry or combative. As I said, this is not about winning an argument. It's about educating and building a relationship. Do not talk about other legislators or another political party. We never, you're in a state office building, you're on state business. We never talk about campaigns, elections, fundraising, campaign contributions. You're there to talk about state issues only, not political issues. Do not, again, belabor your concerns. Do not try to win an argument. Do not discuss other issues. Many of you, I know, you're here today because you care about Jewish issues, but you've been members of other groups, other organizations, whether they're environmental, civil rights, but you're here today for Jewish California. Stick to the Jewish California agenda. Do not bring up in your meetings any other issues that you may be working on for some other organization. Next slide, please. Before and after your meetings. Before, now, meet with your group and group leader. Complete the lobbying meeting workshop to determine the roles of your group. Everyone who is comfortable is encouraged to introduce themselves. Practice while we have a chance here, and I'll be wandering around the room in case you have any questions for me since my 10 minutes is nearly up. I want to mention swing space. You're going to what we call the swing space, which is the building that they all moved into when they decided to rebuild the state capitol, which you'll notice is being torn apart and rebuilt right now. So all the staff and all the members of the legislature were moved to the swing space. It has limited space. Some staff has no offices. Most of them have workstations, so quite often your meeting may wind up in the hallway, or they may have a limited amount of people that they can fit into a building over there. Getting into the building can be difficult. If it's a busy day, sometimes there's a line around the building, so get there early. The elevators are extremely slow, and there's 6 of them, but 3 have been grabbed by the legislature and the governor's offices, so there's really only 3, and they're smart elevators, which means they're really dumb, which means that someone else has out in the exterior push the button to get to the floor. You may wind up using the staircase if your shoes permit. After your meetings, group leaders will submit survey responses to Jewish California, send photos to Jewish California, send thank you notes to the staff. Thank you all, and I am available for questions about lobbying or any process related. And now you're going to get into the substance of some of the issues you're going to be lobbying on. Thank you.